Hello everyone, so we are continuing with the array chapter, and today we'll be discussing about tuple sort method. So in the previous video I explained about the linear search and linear sort method. So there is another sorting method that is called as tuple sort. So we'll discuss this tuple sort method. So what is tuple sort? Now this sorting method is based on comparing and exchanging pairs of adjacent elements till all the elements in arrays are sorted. So adjacent elements. So in the linear sort we saw that from the top element was compared with each of the elements, right? So but here you can see that if you see this diagram, the element next to that is compared. So it moves from the bottom to the top, right? So here an exchange of two elements takes place only if then bottommost element is smaller than the adjacent element and moves to the top of the array, right? So the lesser element moves onto the top of the array, so the remaining adjacent elements are exchanged in the same manner till all the array elements are sorted. So two methods. One was the linear sort, and this is tuple sort method, right? So here you can see that the the array elements here are in descending format. So we have to arrange them in ascending format. So here in the first pass, array elements are sorted in descending order. So the bottom element is compared with the next element, adjacent element. So if since it is 5 is less, so 5 moves on to the takes the place of 22, and 22 moves to below, right? So again here, if you can see the diagram, second is compared with third, then here third is compared with fourth, all right? And so as the comparison is done, you can see that every time the less since 5 is less, the comparison is being done, it moves one step ahead. So at the end of the first pass, the least element, the minimum element, will move on to the top. The others are still in unsorted format, right? So again, now after that, again it starts from the bottom. Now this 22 is compared with 23. Since 22 is less, 22 goes up, 23 comes down. Again 22 is compared here with 34. So this way, at the end of pass 2, the second minimum uh, array element moves on to the top second, all right? So this way, in the pass 3 and pass 4, at the last of the pass, we see that the array elements get sorted in ascending order. So if you see the number of passes and if you see the number of array elements, you have 5 array elements and the number of passes is 4. So always in tuple sort method also, you will see that the number of pass is 1 less than the number of array elements. Okay, so now this is so to understand how it is used in program, we shall see one program on that, right? So now here is a program to enter any number of numbers in array and arrange all the elements in ascending order using tuple sort method. So any number of numbers, right? So it may be a random number. It is not necessarily that it has to be in descending order. Okay, as you can see here, the numbers are in random orders. This is 40, this is 55, and this is 34, right? So and arrange all the elements in ascending order using tuple sort method. So 34 has to come first, then 40, and then 55. So we shall see it using this program. So as you can see in this program, based on that, you have declared an array called as item, and the index size is 100, right? The index size may be 100, but here in this program, as you can see, I have only entered three values. That means it has only used only 3 array elements. So one major disadvantage of using an array is, okay, the size of the index and the number of input values has to be known in advance, right? So when you create the size index, so you can see that the unwanted the compiler will create, okay, memory space for 100 array elements, but here you are using only 3 array elements. So the major disadvantage in array is because of this size 100, unwanted memory space will be used up, right? So that's why here instead of 100 you can also write, depending on the number of you want to sort, okay, you can enter like 3 or 5 like that, but of course here 100 is also acceptable. Right, so that is the that is also one of the advantage of array, that it does not mean that, okay, if you mention the size as 100 you need to exactly create 100 array elements. No. All right, so here num is declared, I is declared, j is declared, because here these are the counter variables and temp. Okay, so if you remember the in the previous chapter we have discussed one program called a swapping, right? Swapping of two variables where a is 5 and b is 4. At the end of the program b becomes 5 and a becomes 4, like that, right? So we use this same swapping techniques. However, here we use three variables. Okay, so we use the third variable to store the value which is to be compared. Okay, so using three variables we can do swapping, that is in this program logic. Okay, so now here the command prompt is given. So how many numbers you want to sort. So here, so num equals to 3. So here let's say num variable stores the value 3. After that enter the elements into array, right? So enter the elements into array, so you're entering three values. So here in the for loop is used, so this for loop ends in here. So this for loop is to enter the value, so for that reason the array is declared here. So item I, so item I means, as you know, that the array counter variable always starts with 0 because the array element always starts with 0. So since you are declaring 3, so it will create 3 array elements: item 0, item 1 and item 2, and this value will be stored. So when you enter from the keyboard, item 0 will store 40, then I gets incremented, 1 is less than 3, right? So again C in item 1, so item 1 will store 55, then I gets incremented, so I becomes 1 plus 1, 2, right? So 2 is less than 3, yes. Then again item 2, so item 2 enters the value 34, so again I gets incremented, 2 plus 1, 3. 3 is less than 3, no, right? So the body of the for loop, it does not execute, it comes to the next line statement, which is another for loop. So you can see that here we have two for loops, so nested for loop. This is the outer for loop and this is the inner for loop. So in the body of the outer for loop, this is the body of the outer for loop, that is in the body of the outer for loop you have this inner for loop, and this is the body of the inner for loop, that is the if block. So in the inner for loop the main program execution takes place, right? So as you know that in a nested for loop the inner for loop gets executed first, right? And once the inner for loop becomes false, the outer for loop increments. So always in a for loop, initialization, test the condition is done, and then after that the body of the for loop. So here you can see that I starts with 0, and here I is less than num minus 1, that is 3 minus 1, because as you know that as you in sorting method, as you keep on comparing, if you see the number of passes also, it reduced by 1, right? So here also, as you keep on comparing the numbers, right, the first number that is compared, right, in the inner for loop, so the number will get reduced by 1, so you will have one less number to compare in every pass, right? So that's why it is written here num minus 1, that is 3 minus 1, 2. So which is 0 is less than 2, right? So 0 is less than 2, 1 is less than 2, then 2 is less than 2, right? So here 0 is less than 2, 3 minus 1, 2, that is 1, then 1 is less than 3 minus 1, 2, okay, and 2 is less than 2, false, right? Okay, so here you can see that the for loop j gets incremented by 0 plus 1, 1, okay, because now we have to compare two elements, right? If you make it j goes to 0, then you are comparing the same element with the same element, right? So you have to compare one element with the next element in bubble sort method, right? So here I equals to 0, so I equals to 0 means this one, and j equals to 0 plus 1, I plus 1 means 0 plus 1, which means this second item, second array element. All right, so that's why here the counter variable I is used, right? So when this initializing test condition is done, if this is true, 0 is less than 3 minus 1 2, yes, then the body of the outer for loop will get executed. So here j goes to 0 plus 1 1, 1 is less than 3, yes, then the if block gets executed. If item I is 0, right? 0 is greater than item j is 1, right? So 40 is greater than 55, no, right? So when it is no, the body of this if block does not get executed because this is false. Only when this is true, the if body gets executed, right? So after that, what happens? It comes here. After the body of the for loop, it comes here, it increments. So I equals j is equal to 1 plus 1 2, so 2 is less than 3, right? Yes, so again it executes the if block. If item I is still 0, right? Because we have still not come out of the inner for loop. So 0 is what? 40. So 40 is greater than item j. Now j got incremented by 1 to 2, right? So that is, now we are comparing the next array element. We have already compared this with this, which was false. Now we're comparing this with this, so which is 34. 40 is greater than 34, right? So now what will happen is that the body of the if block will get executed. Temp is equals to temp item I. So now item I, which stores the value 40, will be stored in this variable, temporary variable. Okay, and then item I equals to item j. So now item I is nothing is stored in item I because no. So now the value of item I gets stored in temp, right? So now item j, what is item j? That is 34. 34 is stored in item I, right? So now item I gets transferred to here, and 40 gets transferred to a variable called as temp. Okay, so now 34 goes to 0, item 0, and 40 goes to temp variable. Alright, so now item 2 we have to fill it up. So here in this third step, temp equals to item j. So what is temp? 40. 40 is stored in item j, that is here. So now they got exchanged. 34 goes here and 40 comes here because of this temp variable. So swapping is done using 3 variables. Okay, so again j gets incremented. So j becomes 2 plus 1 3. 3 is less than 3, false, right? Then after that, the inner for loop stops execution and it comes to the outer for loop because the outer for loop test condition is still true, right? So I becomes 0 plus 1 1. 1 is less than num minus 1, that is 3 minus 1 2, yes, right? So again it comes to the inner for loop. So again it will be compared. J equals to 0 plus 1, that is no, j equals to 1 plus 1 2. Now j I got incremented by 1, right? So now I value will remain 1. So j goes to not 0 plus 1 but 1 plus 1 2. So 2 is less than 3, yes. Then again it will come here, item I. Now item I has become 1, right? So that is item I 55 is greater than item j. Now item j does not store the value 34 but 40, right? So 55 is greater than 40, yes, right? So then temp is equal to item j, that is item j is what? Item j is that is item j is 2, right? So here 40, right? So 40 will be stored in temp. Okay, and item I equals to item j. So item j will store the value 55 because item I is now 1, right? So this item 1 will store the value 40, right? So again the item j equals to temp. So now temp value will be stored in item j. That is, item j is 2, so that is 55 comes down. So now 40 comes here and 55 goes here, right? So you can see the elements get sorted. Now after that, again j gets incremented, so j becomes now 2 plus 1 3, so 3 is less than 3, false, right? Again I gets incremented. I was initially 1, right? So now I gets incremented by 1 plus 1 2, so here 2 is less than 3 minus 1 2. So you can see that if you make it I is less than num only, you will get the wrong output. But now because of this, you can see that one less to compare, right? So now 2 is less than 2, false. So now the all the for loops, the outer for loop is also complete, it has become false. So now it will come to the cout. So statements, sorted elements are again for loop, okay, it will display the values which is stored in item 0, item 1, item 2. Okay, so you get this format. Okay, so now I've explained you this program. Okay, you type this program, okay, check out this. But to make you understand much better, okay, I have also made a try run method on that. So go through this try run method, okay, so that you can understand. So for every program which has an area or which are complex, always do this try run methods. Okay, so this is not exactly the try run method. Okay, this is more in detail. Okay, you can simplify this try run method for all the programs. Okay, so so instead of writing like this, okay, you can simply write down in a simpler way. Okay, I have written in this format so that you can understand much better. Okay, and I've given you these arrow directions also so that you can understand the way it is represented. Okay, but like I said, this is a detailed try run method. Okay, you can simplify it in your own ways. Okay, so whenever you do try run method, you don't need to do it in this complex details. Okay, so so just follow the directions of the arrows how it is done. Okay, and after this it will come here and then execute this, and then after that it comes here. All right, then again the process will test condition. As you know that initialization is done only once, right? So study this try run method very nicely. Okay, and for all other programs also try this similar approach, then programming will become much more easier for you understanding program logic.